Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1892. I am here with a book by Larry J. Namer. Larry J. Namer is an international entertainment and media mogul. He transformed the industry at home and abroad. He's the founder of E, which used to be Movie Time. He created stars and brought them into homes around the world. Think of the Kardashians. Think of the people who, oh, goodness gracious. I don't know who E did. I'm not that big of an E person, but I want to know more about what made him successful. And I think part of it is just knowing what makes for success. So, for example, this book is titled Off Script Recipes for Success. And he says, never follow the crowd. And I'm not following the crowd, so I'm doing part of it. Today, we're going to read the last part of the text of this. And then after that, we're going to dive into the bits of recipes that he's got, as well, real recipes like food recipes, as well as the photos that he's got of himself with other people. He's got his son here. Oh, he's got two sons here, John and Alexander. Those are sons. Those are adult sons. And Media Visionary Award from astronaut Bruce Melnick at the Kennedy Space Center. Ooh, he got an award. Look at how happy he is. That's so cool. Oh, it's almost like they're saying, please take this award. Please, please. Ay, ay, ay. What did he do? Media Visionary Award from astronaut. So an astronaut says, if you hadn't been this visionary, I might not be where I went. Where I went. So that's possible. And Manny Pacquiao, boxing champ. I've heard the name. Oh, they call him Manny Pacquiao. I don't know if it's Pacquiao or Pacquiao or whatever. But it sounds like a Filipino name to me, or Samoan or Polynesian or something. China's top film star Yang Mi. Oh, she's very pretty. Look at her. And he's with her on camera. And he says here in the back of the book, if I can do it, so can you. So let's try. Famous Korean actress Clara Lee. Clara Lee. She must be he he's schmoozing. Yes, he is schmoozing. Vladimir Putin, back when hair was in. Both of them, Vladimir Putin. So he must have been already getting there. I mean, I'm talking about Vladimir Putin must have been already getting up to power and all that stuff. So these are interesting little bits. So the Larry Namer Recipe for Success is chapter 19th. We're coming into the home stretch of his textbook, and this is chapter 19. Larry J. Namer says, this book has featured the highlights of my journey. It's not a play by play of my life or career, and it's not meant to be. I never set out to write a tell all book that would divulge all my relationships or experiences, and I certainly didn't want to use this book as a tabloid to expose anyone else's scandals or secrets. If they want to reveal anything to the world, I'm sure they can and will write their own book. I chose to share the stories in this book because they were influential, even pivotal in my life. They told the story of how a poor kid from Coney Island found himself in the unlikeliest of places, living and working among the stars and the rich and famous in the entertainment capital of the world, Los Angeles. In some ways, my story is unbelievable. Sometimes I can't even believe Sometimes I can't even, sometimes I can't even believe it. Let's see if this light is better here. I kicked the lamp on my way over. Sometimes I can't even believe it, but it's true. And that's what makes it remarkable. I mean, who would think that Alan and I, as naive and inexperienced as we were, could actually create an entertainment channel that would change the entertainment industry? Looking back, I can see that the only reason we got any funding and succeeded was because we were inexperienced and didn't realize just how unlikely it was that anyone would take us seriously. In other words, we didn't know not to listen when we were told no. Ironically, that worked for us. Hmm. In other words, yeah. In other words, we didn't know not to listen when we were told no. Ironically, that worked for us. Hmm. I credit our inexperience and naivete with our success. Without it, we would have thrown in the towel and given up and gone home. Hmm. Looking back, though, I realized that my success was due to multiple things, many that I learned from tried and true experience, and some that I was fortunate to learn from people who have been instrumental in my life. So, without further ado, I share with you the pivotal things I've learned and still live by. And I want to say that I am very grateful, right before he says, without further ado, I want to say that I am very grateful for where I am in my life. This is Yin Yang speaking. I live in San Francisco. I've grown up here, and I was downtown the other day, and I looked and looked at how beautiful downtown Civic Center is. The brick, the mortar buildings, the what are they made of? Granite buildings? The city hall, the courthouse, the civic center auditorium, the public library, the other part of the courthouse, I guess it's called, and um then the public library on the then the Asian Art Museum, uh Hastings Law School. They're all right there. You walk around and there it all is. And I think there's a fountain. For me not to notice that there's a fountain means that I've been taking the place for granted. And I'm very, very lucky. I feel as though, gee, in any other world, we'd have to say, I'm an adult, I live here and I helped build a building, and that's how good it is. And the limits of its beauty are only, it's only limited by my skill, my personal skill in helping to build it, such as in Habitat for Humanity, how people get together to build. Well, I didn't have to do that. I haven't had to put my hands to I didn't have to use a hammer and build something myself in the civic center, and yet it is gorgeous beyond my belief. And I get to treasure it while I grow up here my entire life, ever since I was able to open my eyes and look around. I remember seeing Civic Center. I remember seeing the Golden Gate Park. I remember the fountain that they've now dismantled over by Hyatt Regency, which was built while I was a child. And I see those things that were there when I was very small, whereas in any other part of the world, a kid that grows up like me, especially if I were male instead of female, if I were male, I would have been the one helping to build that town hall or help to build somebody's house or help to help to help to put up the fence posts around somebody's yard. We call it yard here, but farm yard over in any other part of the world. So I must needs say that I am appreciative for where I am. I grew up in San Francisco. This gentleman says Coney Island, and he makes it sound like it's a tiny place. I haven't. I don't think I've been to Coney Island, and if I have done so as a tourist and not recognized the blur of places that I went to in one day. So, um, I am gonna read Larry Namer's recipe for success. Larry J. Namer says, when managing people, be firm but fair. You can be as tough as the situation calls for, but be sure everyone around, above, and below understands and believes that your decisions are fair. I learned this from Nick Nicholas, who at the time was the president of Manhattan Cable and went on to be president of Time Warner. I have tried to stay true to this principle throughout my career and in everything I do, and I can attest to the fact that it is some of the best advice I have ever received. Thank you, Nick. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Or as Barry Diller said when his long-running attempt to take over Paramount failed, next in capitals. Whatever happened yesterday cannot be undone, but what's done is done. Move on. Tomorrow is another day. Hmm. When doing business in Los Angeles, assume everyone is lying until they prove to you they are not. LA is a very strange place that attracts all sorts of character from all over the world. It is really one of the very few big cities dominated by a single industry, entertainment. If I would tell someone I was doing a film deal in China, they would tell me they have a slate of films going. If I said I started a TV network, they would say they did too, when all they really did was when all they really had was a website with a video window. After getting burned a few dozen times, I learned and adopted the mantra that they were all lying in their teeth until they could prove to me otherwise. You can't turn a tiger into a vegetarian, and a leopard doesn't change its spots. Once you determine someone is dishonest, don't ever get into thinking they will be a good partner for you. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. It's just a matter of time before they'll turn on you. In a foreign country, respect their culture and their ways. It's not up to you to change the way they live or what they value. You are a guest in their country and need to respect their culture, their lifestyle, their rules, and their laws. Let me tell you something. This is Yin Yang with a little example. When I was in China one day, there was a little news snippet of traffic being really bad one day, and there was a tourist, a white European of white descent tourist, saying it would help if all the signs were in English. And this is in China. And I yelled at the television, "You are in China! You are in China!" That's what I yelled. Just saying. Back to Larry J. Namer. I learned that from my mom, their lifestyle, their rules, their laws, and it proved to be invaluable. That's what Larry J. Namer's mom did. We have Larry J. Namer's mom to thank for the Kardashians for having things like E Entertainment. Because of her advice, says Larry J. Namer, because of her advice, the years I spent in Russia and China were successful. And I'm proud to say that because of her words, I enjoyed many mutually respectful relationships with people in different countries. Some are still good friends to this day. Now, I remember writing a letter to a friend of a friend that I met in Taiwan. We had been talking, and I said, I saw a good calendar in San Francisco in a CVS, or at that time it was Long's Drugstore. And I said I used to go buy calendars at their place because they would put all the calendars at El Cerrito Long's Drugstore in the Bay Area. And so she said she'd like one. So I said, I can send you one. I come home, I go look, can't find one, but I find the next best thing. And I sent it to her with a little letter. I said, this is the best I could find. And she wrote back, I love that. The idea was she was glad that I actually kept my promise. Um, And now I look back and I realize from this information that I've got here, this wisdom that I've got from Larry J. Namer, as well as from Greg Reed and all the other people at the Secret Knocks I've had that I went to, that 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 was the kind of person I should have kept in touch with. This was 19, it was 40 years ago. I don't know where her address is, but I could look it up. Technology can't be held back and will always march on. I learned this while being in the while being the primary consultant to Microsoft for interactive TV strategy. Take my word for it, it's true. Microsoft is owned by a billionaire now. And I had an ex-boyfriend who sold his company to Microsoft, and Microsoft stated that in their contract they wanted my friend to devote 2 years of their next employment with Microsoft. And the idea turned out to be that any of their intellectual property was belonged to Microsoft. And this man that I knew came out deflated after the 2 years. Anyway, you can't outtrain a bad diet. You can't outtrain a bad diet. I wish I had accepted this principle earlier in life. This is Larry J. Namer talking. I'm holding up the book, and visually you can see it, but in case I don't say it verbally, this is what's going on. You can't outtrain a bad diet, he says. I wish I had accepted this principle earlier in life, but I'm thankful that I've embraced it now. As they say, hindsight is 2020. I'm in the gym 6 days a week for an hour each time, but after years of eating anything I wanted, I now actually pay attention to what I'm eating and make an attempt to eat healthier. What turned out what turned the tables? I saw a picture of Alan, my e-partner, who was in intensive care from COVID. Believe me, that'll do it. Seeing someone you care about fighting for their life is life-changing. It changed me. I decided right then and there to get healthy, and I dropped over 50 pounds. I admit that I still love food. That hasn't changed, but I now limit my not so healthy meals to once a day and make sure that the others are healthy meals. The most important thing in life is to be happy. I'm not sure where I got this one, but I stand by it 1000%. My mom used to be worried about my daughter, and she'd often ask, "Are Nicole and her boyfriend serious and planning to get married?" I would say that I didn't care if they got married as long as she was happy. Married or not, her happiness is what really mattered. And I can apply this principle to anything in life and it still holds water. Do what makes you happy. You don't have to answer to anyone but yourself. The future belongs to those who prepare for it. Malcolm X. The years I spent envisioning the different ways the cable company, sorry, the years I spent envisioning the different ways cable could be used prove this to be true. Tomorrow will come. Look ahead. Prepare for it. Heck, be a part of it and participate in creating it. If you don't, life will pass you by and you'll find yourself wondering why you were left behind. Let yourself be who you really are. Fashion designer Richie Rich, who is an icon in the LGBTQ plus community and has dressed everyone from Madonna to Lady Gaga, taught me this. He even made me a sweatshirt with this saying on it. And The He's right. I never tried to be some high profile executive or a mogul in the entertainment industry. That's not who I am. I'm just Larry Namer, a guy from Coney Island who happened to get some lucky breaks and take some risks when I was too ignorant to know that the odds were against me. In LA, it's easy to forget where you came from. And I'm grateful for friends like Richie who love me just the way I am. Don't take yourself too seriously. This came from Halle Bailey, and I'm proud to say that I don't. I still see myself as just another schmuck from Brooklyn. To this day, I'm constantly astounded by people who show such reverence for the founder of E. Honestly, I see myself as a regular guy who got lucky. Sure, I'm grateful, but in my opinion, I'm not all that. Now, I have to say, this is Yin Yang having met Larry Namer. I don't recall if we ever even shook hands and I introduced myself to him or anything like that. But over time, I saw him every single time I ever saw him there. He looked really humble, like he was just another guy. Just another guy. And I went up to him and said, "You look really tired," because I happened to know that he had to evacuate his home when during the LA fires. I think it was a year or two ago. And he looked really tired, like he wished he hadn't had to be there, like he was there because he had to be there. But I didn't say much to him. I just told him, I said, "You look really tired. Get some rest." Something like that. And then I walked on because I knew he wouldn't want to stop to talk to me. He didn't feel like talking to anybody. Anyway, that's what I said. Following your passion is a road to starving. That's what it says. Now, there might be some folks who will beg to differ with that statement, so let me explain. Anyone who follows me on social media knows I'm a food nut. I love to cook. I mean, I really love to cook and I love to eat. To say I'm passionate about food would be an understatement. If there was one thing that I really wanted to do, I would have owned a restaurant and been a chef. I love cooking that much. So, of course, I invested in some restaurant deals throughout the years. Spoiler alert, I lost money every time. It turns out that I'm not good at two things: making movies and owning restaurants. From experience, I've learned that following my passion is a fast path to homelessness. The best recipe for success is to pick something you are really good at and invest yourself in that. You will get better at it, and in time you will become passionate about it. My story is the perfect example. This brings me to this book. Over the years, people who have heard the story of my career have told me that I need to write a book, a suggestion that I've always shut down. I'm still a simple guy from Coney Island, and I never needed that feather in my cap. Besides, while I knew my story was somewhat unique, I didn't feel compelled to share it with the world. Is there any more? Yes, one last page. But then it occurred to me that there is one thing that I love sharing: my cooking. My love for cooking began when I was a latchkey kid who got tired of eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when my parents were at work. Out of necessity, I learned how to make recipes I found in my mom's cookbooks. And then I started creating my own recipes. I got so good at it that I was able to taste a dish and go home and recreate it in my own kitchen. And I loved every minute of it. Even more, I love sharing the food I cook with my family and friends. In fact, there are few things that make me happier. And this brings me to why I wrote this book. It occurred to me that if I wrote a book, it would be a way for me to share my true passion with everyone. After all, I can't possibly cook for everyone, but hey, I can still share what I cook with everyone. Realizing that a book was a way to share my love of cooking, the idea grew on me. It was genius, really. Writing a cookbook disguised as a memoir isn't something just anybody can pull off, but I'm Larry Namer, the guy who has a track record for doing what others have said couldn't or shouldn't be done. The first part of this book featured my background and some of the pivotal, colorful, and yes, humorous humorous highlights of my life and career. It is off script. a behind the scenes take on my life and career, and it is unapologetically and authentically me. In the next section, I share with you my true passion, the recipes I've created and served to my friends and loved ones throughout the years. They too are authentic, and every one of them has earned the nod of approval from myself, my biggest food critic, and my guests. I hope you enjoy them as much as I've enjoyed creating and perfecting them. I'm Larry Namer, and my life has always been off script. And if you ask me, that's a pretty good place to be. It's also the main ingredient in my recipe for success. It's what's happened behind the scenes that changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't have it any other way. So here are some photos that he's got. We're going to go into the recipes the next few times. In fact, I've already shown you a few of the photos. So what I will do is I will, okay, on a set of Return to Da Fudsen. Da Fudsen, I don't know what that means. Da Fudsen. And the Metan Global Entertainment, that's the China company right there. That's their logo. And then their first show in China. Hello, Hollywood. Hollywood. Huh. Hollywood. The first word means good. The second word means Lee is the way they wrote it is a shorthand for Lee means lucky, and then Wu is the sound of a bird. So Hollywood. That's cool. Actually, it's cool. I can read it too. Actually, the China's Oprah. Yu Sai Kan. Yu Sai Kan. There's that. On the red carpet at the Shanghai Film Festival. I think I know this woman. I think I've seen her before. Can't remember who she is though. I've actually got some ties to the Quenshu show people in Shanghai. I'm cooking Sichuan's chicken dish for my show on Beijing TV. Oh, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Look at that. And I think next week we'll go into some of these um photos and the recipes that he's got at the end. Okay, so we'll do that. And let me put the bookmark where it needs to go this time. Oh god, this thing. This is so cute. And yes, I know I'm over time, but I figured that, Larry Namer himself was saying on his hint book, in his hints, which I'll put behind a bunch of magnets, um, that uh you have to kind of go off script. You have to do what the audience wants. And what the audience wants is probably some recipes. So I'll show you that next time we go into Larry Namer. We'll do the recipes. I'm going to write that down. Recipes. And not only that, but next week for Larry Namer, it's going to be episode number 1899, which is the best good luck Chinese number episode I could possibly have before 1900. Yes, even better than 1900 if you think about it. Okay, so I'll talk to you again later. You take it easy. Have a good day. Be inspired to cook something good for yourself, even if you don't. You can go back and look at some of my other shows that have Larry J. Namer. The first one has some recipes on it. The second one that he wrote. Okay, talk to you later, old Kinderhook.